take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that, because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from three. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that, because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from three. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that, because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from three. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
You take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from 3. He is a career 43.3% shooter from 3-point range.
Pro basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
You take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from 3. He is a career 43.3% shooter from 3-point range.
Pro basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
You take a look at it and say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that, because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from three. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA. With
You take a look at it and say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that, because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from three. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
you've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said,
they have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I think.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I zig.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I zig.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I zig.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5, 6, 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I zig.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I zig.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz only on SportsGrid.
they have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I think.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz, only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden Blitz only on SportsGrid.
They have a bigger talent pool potentially, and they're going to give them anything it takes to potentially get this team back to a national championship. And if you want to set a legacy, you could maybe have one good year at Ole Miss and maybe potentially, 5 or 6 9-3 campaigns, but you're not going to make the playoff each and every season, or at least that's the mindset. You have a better path at LSU or a bigger school.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, that's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the Best Bet segment.
Pro Football Today only on SportsGrid.
Everyone has just been lying about this whole thing. Okay. Of the top 15 teams in the country, there are 4 total losses to unranked football teams. Miami has half of them.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Florida was thought to get Lane Kiffin, but they go and turn to Tulane head coach John Summerall. This is a solid hire, coach.
He's a tough-minded coach. I thought he would be a perfect fit at Auburn, just knowing he's from Alabama. But I think Florida got an outstanding coach. He will be a tough nut that knows how to win football games.
The Bowden.
We just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on the Houston Texans.
The Early Line only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show only on SportsGrid.
You then had a sensational game with the Bears and the Eagles. Who knew how great the Bears were in terms of blowing out the Eagles and having the NFC race go topsy-turvy. And then you also had the 2 NBA games. So it was a big win, I thought, for Amazon for their first ever really big Black Friday day. I think it's something we see them doing now forever on that Black Friday.
Newswire only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every week.
Live on SportsGrid, it is game time decisions, couple of technical difficulties. Look, it happens. That's the business. We work through it. We appreciate everybody who gets us going here now on this Tuesday night. Kevin Walsh with you from the decisions desk, and we still have a lot of good to get to. We have plenty live as well right now. Very good night of college basketball. The number 2, how are they not number 1? But number 2 team in the country, the Michigan Wolverines, are right now doubling up Villanova 46-23. That is with about 2.5 minutes left here in the opening half of play. At the Garden, it's Clemson and BYU. Cougs, 5.5-point favorites. They trail by 8 right now, as A.J. Dybonsa and this Cougars offense really struggling to find anything that resembles a rhythm here going up against the Tigers. Number 24, UVA, in action right now as well. It is NBA Cup night as we have the Eastern Conference quarterfinals going on right now. We have, well, I guess it's the Cup quarterfinals, the Eastern Conference semifinals. It is a back-and-forth game after Miami jumped all over Orlando, had a 16-point lead, started the game on a 13-0 run, or actually trailing the Magic by 1. I did bet Paolo Banchero, despite the minutes restriction, for 20-plus in this game. No Franz Wagner. It's a cup game. Maybe he can push the minutes limit a little bit. He's at 7 on 7 shots right now. Efficiency missing from Paolo early in this game, which is going to be back and forth undoubtedly. What is still to come from both of these slates? Well, the second half of those quarterfinals, it's going to be the Raptors and the Knicks in Toronto. Knicks up to 6.5-point favorites here. Maybe a little bit of the shine falling off of this Toronto team. At one point, they were feeling like they could be threatening, a little bit scary in the Eastern Conference. Why was that the case? Because they went out there and won 13 of 14 basketball games. They have, though, now lost 5 of their last 6. And that just is going to change the conversation a little bit if you are Toronto, but changes the number some as well. They really were dominant during the NBA Cup group play stage, the Toronto Raptors. It's why they're hosting the Knicks here in this game. Raptors are a little interesting catching those points. The back end of this college basketball board will feature Big Ten play with Illinois laying 3.5 against Ohio State. And then a really fun ranked matchup between UConn and Florida. The Gators right now are going through a little bit of the Kentucky syndrome, except their game's much closer. A 6-point loss to Arizona, a 4-point loss to TCU, a 1-point loss on the road to the Duke Blue Devils, but 5-3. No win to puff their chest out and brag about. And they're now a dog in the Garden, back half of the double up in MSG with Clemson and BYU, as we mentioned, already off and running here. It's the Huskies and the Gators, a 5-18 with UConn right now, a 4.5-point favorite in this game. This will be featured here in our best bet segment, which I figure, and again, we appreciate you hanging out with us here on this Tuesday night, we'll put on the board because this game is going to be featured multiple times. For me, I like Alex Condon over 13.5 minutes. Condon played 37 minutes against Duke in the loss. I believe that if Condon is going to be playing 35-plus, he's going to get himself to be more of a 15, 16, 20, 15, 16 regularly with spike nights of 20-plus here. So I think Condon's a really nice look on the Gators over 13.5. AJ's going to back the Gators on the money line. They got a great cover against Duke, nearly pulled off the stunning upset there. They're plus 150. Chris is going to get a college basketball player prop in Brandon Knoll over the 8.5 points. Not mad at it. And then we've got Howard money line for Sam. Admittedly, though, I'm not sure. Did Howard get off the board yet? They are. They're plus 118. They are up early, so you missed out on a good one. I know a lot of you have been running to the window. Get Howard Moneyline on your card. We'll root it in. We'll see. Maybe you can catch it live as well. Where else could you be looking here on this Tuesday night? Well, let's be honest. You might be looking for OK Dubs to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. and a nightmarish performance last night in L.A. A 22-19 win for the Chargers in overtime. Jalen Hurts, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 turnovers in the football game. Did not account for a touchdown in the game. A.J. Brown may have dropped one. I don't know. Are we allowed to acknowledge that? You never know the rules with some of this stuff. The end of the day, the Eagles right now have found themselves in a much different tier since the last time we did NFL tiers on this show. We don't do it every week. We've only done it once before. What we have for you tonight, Kevin 7, NFL tiers part 2. Pretty good. Pretty good if I do say so myself. And, unlike last time, everyone made the cut. I think we only did about 26 or 27 of the teams last time. This time we made sure all 32 are featured on those tiers, so don't be mad at it. We will also just take a quick peek at some of the Week 15 NFL lines. There were more spreads that caught my attention for Week 15 early looks than any week in recent memory. This is a pretty fun slate here with a number of games that are going to impact playoff races, especially in the AFC. Chiefs, Chargers, Pats, Bills, and then you've got the Bengals and the Ravens. There's a lot doing here, so we're going to break that down. Plus, what do you think the number is? Colts, Seahawks. Who's the quarterback, by the way? Practice squad Phil, who decided maybe he wasn't going to get into the Hall of Fame? I don't really understand what's going on there. We're going to continue to break it down. We're live with you on a Tuesday night on SportsGrid.
Take a look at it and say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from 3. He is a career 43.3% shooter from 3-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You're in luck. It is time for NFL Tiers Part 2. Kevin 7, 7 tiers, 32 teams. We start at the bottom. Tier 7, the Mendoza line. I am so proud of this, it is actually embarrassing. The Mendoza line. The Jets, the Giants, the Commanders, the Titans, the Raiders, the Browns, the Saints, and the Cardinals. As these are the 8 worst teams in the NFL, the 8 double-digit loss teams who will all be competing for the number 1 overall pick, which is likely to be Fernando Mendoza. They'll either be selecting him or trading the pick to the team who wants him. The Mendoza line also, the batting average. Some of these win percentages are underneath right now. 200. Gosh, that's good. These teams stink. All of them stink. I really wonder how many of them love Fernando Mendoza. That's the real question to me. But he is the favorite to not only win the Heisman, but go first overall. Tier 6, Black Ops or Bama. Dolphins, Falcons, Vikings, Panthers, Steelers. What is Black Ops or Bama? Kyler Murray or Ty Simpson? Or maybe you'll stick with what you got. Bryce Young went to Bama. Tua Tagovailoa went to Bama. Michael Penix's head coach in college is now coaching at Bama. That one works with me. Shout out 9 in the tier. Look, I think these are teams that are likely to, they're going to have long conversations about the future of their quarterback position. Atlanta is the likeliest to stick with what they've got, but all in all, I think there are still questions for these teams. And by the way, you might say, whoa, Pittsburgh, way too low. They're not good. You just got to know when the Tomlin spots are coming. No, who right there in that graphic is all upset? Carolina? Every other week Panthers? Come on. Tier 5, gosh. Misery loves company. I'm dragging a bunch of teams in with me. Eagles, Bengals, Bucks, Chiefs, Ravens, Colts. Who is having fun? The Chiefs, they make the AFC Championship game every year. Now they're going to miss the playoffs. The Eagles ended the Chiefs season again last night by giving the Chargers that victory. The Bengals have been driving me crazy. The Bucks making a rough Sunday every Sunday in my house, it feels like. The Ravens were gift-wrapped the North. They squandered it. The Colts were favorites to win the conference 2 weeks ago. And now here they are with no quarterback. It's a nightmare. Misery loves company, tier 5. Tier 4, Frisky 5. 5 teams that if they're in the playoffs, it feels like a win is on the board. Probably not more than that, but a win is on the board. And I think they'd be pretty pumped, all things considered. Jags, Chargers, Bears, Lions, Cowboys. Most unbiased man in history of sports media. Dallas above Philly in the tiers. He does it again. Tier 3, I'll be the bad guy. Bills, Seahawks. They're not winning the Super Bowl. They're just not. I get it. Everybody every year has to fall in love with the DVOA crown. Beating up on bad teams is not all it takes. And Sam Darnold has offered us never-ending evidence that you can't trust him in a big game. He's not winning the Super Bowl, and neither is Josh Allen. The Bills have too many problems. A lot of people think the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl because, well, they have to. It's set up perfectly. Too bad. I'll be the bad guy. Neither one of those teams are winning the Super Bowl. You know who might? You know who might? The Niners or Texans. Sell me something, tier 2. It's a Niners Super Bowl ticket or it's a Texans Super Bowl ticket. I love these teams. I love these teams. The Texans, I've been eyeing them up since they smashed the Ravens. I wish I got in then. I didn't. I'm still tempted at the numbers. The Niners could be the 1 seed. Look at the rest of the schedule. It could really break their way. Robert Saleh might win Assistant Coach of the Year. Kyle Shanahan, who knows? Maybe he'll snag Coach of the Year. They've got pedigree as well. Tier number 1, Honda Accord. I had to do a little research for this. Safest car on the market, 9.8 safety car. That's the Honda Accord. The safest pick right now, Packers, Rams, Broncos, Pats. Those are safe picks. But is that the right pick? Is that the right pick? Is it the right pick for you? When you take it off the lot, do you feel good sitting inside it? I'm not so sure. Those are the tiers. Brian Fonseca's next. Now you know you're in for a good one.
Take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that, because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from three. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, it is game time decisions. It is a basketball kind of night. It is a busy sports day overall. We're happy to get our guy Brian Fonseca to join the show. You can catch Brian doing a lot of great stuff over on Action. I know you do a lot of the watch-alongs over at the New York Post. Big Knicks game tonight as well. I'll keep it local, though, Brian, because I know you have some thoughts on Edwin Diaz. Here's the comparison. The text messages that I was getting today in reaction to Diaz signing with the Dodgers reminded me of when Boogie Cousins signed with the Warriors. Honestly. It was like, no, this can't be serious. Not again. Oh, what's the point? End the season. It feels inevitable now, right? It's the Infinity Stones aspect of it all. Everyone very upset that Edwin Diaz is a Dodger.
Yeah, I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
I'm mad at everybody. I'm mad at well, not Edwin Diaz, because it's like, look, the before we get to basketball, this is just the only thing I'm going to say about it, and then we'll move on. David Stearns, allegedly, according to Anthony DiComo, so reportedly, offered 3 years, $66 million with some wiggle room to move north, just in case they felt the need to. All I want to say is, if there was wiggle room, why didn't you just make the better offer up front? I understand it's a negotiation, but you can't afford to let that dude walk out that door and sign with that team of all teams.
Yeah.
I can't.
Not
Stephen
great.
Cohen, like a week after getting the casino in Queens, you can't seal this deal? Like, you know how bad of a look that is? Like, especially now where like there's mergers and billionaires are running everything, and soon we're gonna have to start paying for the right to breathe oxygen. You can't. If you told me, Kevin, if you told me 3 years, 69 million was gonna get it done, I don't know, last week, yesterday, I would have been like, you're crazy. 3 years, 69 million. He's gonna want four for at least 100, 90, 95, whatever it is. I don't even want to watch baseball this year.
Well, listen, again, I think there's a lot of people who feel like that. I think it's also just kind of funny for the New York squads where one team's like, we promise we won't be outbid, and then this happens, and then you also have the other team whose whole identity used to be no one will outbid us, and now they don't even try to get in the mix. So shout out the Yankees and how they like to conduct business these days. We'll keep it local. Knicks Raptors tonight. Is there anything that's standing out to you for this game with the Knicks? I think decent favorites here, all things considered, up north.
Yeah, so the Knicks are the worst road team in the NBA against the spread so far this season. They're 2-7 ATS, 3-6 straight up. Their only wins against the shorthanded Dallas Mavericks, who did not have, most notably, Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. The shorthanded Charlotte Hornets, who I forget who they were missing. It might have been Brandon Miller. I don't think it was both him and LaMelo Ball, but they've been missing people all year. That's the Charlotte Hornets experience. Also Grant Williams, also Josh Green, who recently returned. And they also beat the Brooklyn Nets, who didn't have Cam Thomas. And let's be serious about the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know if that matters a ton. So the Knicks haven't beaten a good team on the road. This is a drum that I've continued to bang for the duration of this season so far. They've lost to Miami twice. They lost to Chicago. They lost to Milwaukee. They lost to Orlando and Boston. Those are the 6 losses. All of those teams, except for Milwaukee, I guess at this point, you expect to at least be in the play-in. Even Chicago, you think that as bad as they've been, maybe they're a play-in team, whatever. But unquestionably, Dallas, Charlotte, who I'm high on, admittedly, as far as I think they are talented enough to get into the play-in. They're just hurt all the time. And Brooklyn, not playoff teams, whatever. So the Knicks still have something to prove. That said, they can't prove it tonight because it felt like this was going to be the opportunity where they could finally beat a good team on the road, and the Raptors don't have RJ Barrett, and now they don't have Emmanuel Quickly either. So it looks like it's just going to be Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram. The line's already moved. I got Knicks -4. It's already 5.5. It might climb to 6.
Yeah.
And if they lose this game, it'll be very, very damning. They should not lose this game.
It is interesting to see how just stark the home road splits are right now for the Knicks. And I think one of the interesting elements is when you try and carry this over, you don't want to overreact. It could be a small sample size. But in recent history, the Garden has not been impenetrable, right? Guys are so excited to play there when the playoffs begin, they will lose home playoff games. So they're going to have to be able to win on the road when the playoffs begin. Two teams that are expected, I think, to be in the playoffs when we take a look at the way the Eastern Conference lines up. It's the Magic. It's the Heat. They're in action right now. Is that a game that you already bet, Brian, you're going to look to maybe try and follow live?
Yeah, I had, and I was actually just tracking it now, Paolo Banchero over 10.5, actually, 10.5 rebounds plus assists. And right now we are at 7. Actually, just got his 5th rebound, so appreciate that. We'll see how that goes moving forward. We talked about this on Buckets last night on Action Network, and I am the quote unquote Heat guy over there. And I say quote unquote, but like we talk about these guys all the time, Kevin. You know this. And on the show, we went around the horn, so to speak, and was like, all right, who do you think is going to win this game? Just outright win. And I was the only person who said, I kind of think Orlando's going to take this because even though Franz Wagner's out, and I understand that the numbers are better with Franz Wagner and Paolo out than with Paolo in and Franz Wagner out, I've seen the Heat squander this spot against shorthanded teams many a times, including just a couple days ago where they lose to the Sacramento Kings and Domantas Sabonis is out and they get boat raced at home. I just think that it's going to be a close game. I did not bet that. Because to me, this is more of a stay away than anything else. But my lead initially was Orlando. And I'm watching the Paolo minutes. They said that he's still going to be restricted. I think they're going to need him down the stretch. And it looks like teams really do care about the cup as they should.
Yeah.
18 minutes so far, 9 minutes remaining in the third quarter. So I think he probably gets pulled in a few minutes and then plays the bulk of the fourth, and we'll see how that goes.
Can I ask you with the Cup, because we're gonna, probably get into some award stuff. There's some Thunder stuff I want to ask you about in a little bit. But I look right now at who's advanced, and Orlando and Miami are, they've had good seasons, and I think there's some encouraging outlook for what the year can be. The Knicks obviously is one of the top favorites in the East. You look at the West of it all. OKC and LA potentially on a collision course from a semifinal. Does it feel like you can almost look at who's made runs this year and use it as a legitimate data point that these teams are going to make playoff runs? The Thunder are a different category, but saying no, you have to respect these teams. Nobody is here on fluke, if you will.
It depends. Toronto seemed like that team, or one of those teams. And then RJ Barrett gets hurt, and they're 3-5 since he got hurt. And they haven't covered a game, I don't think, since he got hurt, or they covered the first and haven't covered the last 7. And that's RJ Barrett, who I like. Look, I've kept my RJ Barrett stock. I've always thought that he was going to be something better than he was able to show, that beside Julius Randle and beside Bobby Portis and beside various other Knicks during that experience. That being said, I do think that some of these teams are legitimate, but there's a long way to go. We have two-thirds of the season or so. And the major thing is here, we're not even at Christmas. And unfortunately, this has become more like the NFL, where the healthiest good teams are the teams that are going to win out. So we'll see who stands the test of time long term. How Orlando navigates Franz Wagner's absence is going to be very important, because they were doing very well with him before Paolo came back. Miami had to navigate some injury things. They had 2 weeks without Bam, and they had a lot of time without Tyler Hero, but they've had a history of winning games that Tyler Hero wasn't in. So I didn't suspect that we were going to fall off a cliff there. So it depends. It depends on various fronts.
There are some fun Paolo Franz questions. I don't know. I'm going to give it a couple months before we really open that jar. There are some Thunder questions I want to ask Brian about. We'll do it after the break on SportsGrid.
You take a look at it and you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year, I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from three. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions. We're live on SportsGrid on this Tuesday night. We're joined by Brian Fonseca. Does an excellent job covering the NBA. And if you're covering the NBA right now on a nightly basis, then you're not, I don't know what the right word is. You're not going to, in January, like I feel like, Brian, a lot of people are going to look at the Thunder's rec and go, huh? They're what and what? Where, it's every night, right? I mean, it's just every night with this stuff. They are 23-1. I have countless questions. They play tomorrow in Cup action. I'll start with this. In this moment, how many games do you expect this team to win? How about I'll ask you this. Right now, if it was set, I think it is set at like 71 and a half or 70 and a half. Over?
They're at 20. Is it 25 or 26?
23-1 right now.
Oh, I'm just saying. I guess I'm foreshadowing that they'll win the NBA Cup.
Sure.
And then we'll be at 25 or 26. 26. Yeah, I think that I don't know if they're going to lose a double-digit amount of games.
It doesn't feel possible. Them losing 10 times feels impossible right now.
Let's say that they win the Cup. Okay.
Sure.
Quarterfinals, semifinals, NBA Cup, 26-1. Well, 25-1 because one of those games won't count. Actually,
yeah.
So that's fair. That's fair. 25-1. So they would have to be 50-6 to get 75 wins, and I mean,
they're double-digit favorites every night. The one time they lost, they were a 2.5-point favorite. Mind you, they blew a 20-point first quarter lead in that game. But, I don't know, the one time they lost, if you will, they were supposed to lose. It's overwhelming. And the thing is, if they win 72, 73, 74, they're going to clean out the awards, right? And a lot of this feels pretty straightforward with Shea winning MVP. I've been on Dagnall Coach of the Year. I now have to root against the Pistons because if Bickerstaff wins 60, that could get in the way. But other than that, I don't know what will. But I've talked a lot about the DPOY to other people. Is this an award, Brian, that you are invested in? Are you looking at? Have other people made cases to you? Because I'll make a case to you, but I'm curious what your current perception of the market is.
I love the concept of Defensive Player of the Year. I just think that we get it wrong often because we just are lazy and give it to a center whose defensive metrics are always going to be better than the guards because we don't know how to measure perimeter defense in the way that we can measure interior defense, and the defender in the paint who doesn't move a ton is going to often get a lot of the credit because, yes, you have to anchor and things of that nature, but this is also a wings league, a guard-driven league in a lot of instances. A wing league at the very least that requires a lot of jump shooting, so I think switching and versatility is more important than just locking down the paint. So to me, this becomes a question of, okay, are the Oklahoma City Thunder going to produce a Defensive Player of the Year that is it a Lou Dort type? I don't think Alex Caruso's going to play enough games. Chet Holmgren was a favorite for many before the season started. And then if it's not somebody from OKC, because, listen, guys will miss games because they could just sit people and be like, we talked about them being 23-1. A lot of that was without their second best player, Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
So for Defensive Player of the Year, I always lose money on Bam because he's often deserving. And he's never going to get a fair shake because he doesn't have insane stock numbers. And if Wemby plays enough games, which I don't think he will, but if Wemby plays enough games, he'll just run away with the award because look at him, So I don't think there's an obvious DPOY guy on OKC for the common voter. I feel like to you and me, we would look at Chet, we would look at Lou Dort. I would look at Lou Dort especially, but it's tough to say this year.
So I zagged on Dort because he was injured, and then the numbers weren't as shiny. I have been banging the Case and Wallace drum, and it was 500-1 a couple weeks ago and is now 50-1. And it's one of those things where if it's going to go to a Thunder, while Chet is positioned as the favorite, it doesn't feel like the Thunder's defense is about Chet more than it is the next guy. Like, it doesn't feel that way. Like, Hartenstein has the better defensive rating. Like, we know he's not going to win it. I tend to believe if they're going to win 73 games, they're going to sweep the awards. So then, you might be right, Bam's not going to get a fair shake. But then Bam shouldn't be 8-1, while Wallace is 50-1. He's got the same number as Gobert. Rudy's not going to win it again. That's crazy.
And he shouldn't have won it 4 times. Or even 3. Maybe even 2. I just think that with Defensive Player of the Year, so I did the data on this. I don't have it in front of me, but there's something to the effect of this is a reputation award also. So typically the guy who wins it has already been all defense or has already been noted for multiple years as a top-level defender. That's going to work against the case of Wallace, for example, who hasn't been at this level quite yet. We started seeing him blossom last year, really. That's where you started getting the Drew Holiday comparisons. And this year you're starting to see it kick it into gear, especially because they've been shorthanded and he's been there for a lot of them. So I think that's sort of the thing that's going to work against a bunch of their guys, not named Lou Dort and potentially Chet Holmgren. He's young, though. Like, typically somebody that young, like, they won't always get it. And if you look at some other years, like Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, I think those were, like, you kind of have to give it to somebody. But I think both of those years, especially the Jaren Jackson Jr. one, I don't think that was the right choice, especially considering his minutes and that he fouls a lot and doesn't rebound.
Yeah, look, it's a tricky award. I will need someone to get loud about Wallace and bring in people. But if it's going to end up just someone on the Thunders getting it, I'll take my chances then on Wallace. Brian, it is always great to talk to you, especially with a lot going on in the NBA. We'll check it again soon. We'll close it out after the break on SportsGrid.
Take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that, because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from 3. He is a career 43.3% shooter from 3-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Chris Beard said, I can just play different players. And kudos to Chris Beard. NIL does not matter. Recruiting rankings don't matter. Who your AAU coaches doesn't matter. At the end of the day as a coach, your loyalty is to your school. Your loyalty is to all the kids in the program.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We're here on SportsGrid on a Tuesday night. We've got to close it out. Look, a quick one here. We've got a lot of people we'll check in with throughout the week. No Brady here with us tonight, but I want to quickly just mention a couple things that popped out to me for the Week 15 NFL spreads. We'll expand on this throughout the week. Tomorrow, of course, target player props as always on a Wednesday. A couple of things that caught me by surprise. Firstly, Buffalo being booked as favorites in New England surprised me. It's not that I'm surprised the books think Buffalo is better. New England's off a bye, and it's in New England. They have to think that Buffalo is markedly better than New England. There's absolutely no evidence to suggest that. There is none. The Bengals had the Bills dead to rights on Sunday. Burrow gets pick happy. It happens, but if this was a playoff game, I'd be less surprised, right? And I know people can always be, oh, Kev, 1.5 versus 1.5, who cares? I care. That's 3 points. I care. And that says on a neutral, Buffalo's laying, over a field goal? Again, bye week's going to matter. A late bye, that's a bigger rest advantage. I'm surprised that New England is not a small favorite in that game for me. I also am surprised at how big a favorite the Chicago Bears are to the Cleveland Browns. The Browns were just booked as 4.5-point favorites to the Tennessee Titans. All of that baked into this excellent defense. I know Tennessee had some explosives. They get to 31. It was a crazy game. But it's a Bears team that has just spent 2 weeks in a row catching a touchdown. To now give a touchdown and a hook? I'm not saying the Bears lose the game. 7.5, though, is a little surprising. Another one that tripped me up but may not end up getting any action from me is the Giants and the Commanders, because I don't know if Jaden Daniels is playing football. I don't know if the books know. I don't imagine the Giants are closing as favorites against Jaden Daniels. If they are, that's going to be tempting. I think the Vikings would be power rated ahead of the Giants. The Commanders just went to Minnesota, closed as short favorites in that game. The Giants might be getting lifted up, though, because they're coming off their bye week, which once again is why I'm surprised by that Bills line. Last one I will let people know about. The Seahawks are 13.5-point favorites to the Indianapolis Colts. It's just, not that it really would have existed, but imagine a look-ahead line a month ago on Colts Seahawks. I mean, it's probably Seattle 2.5, maybe 3. It's now 10 more than that. And I don't know who's running to bet the Colts. At some point, there will be a bye. I also need to know who's playing. I think Riley Leonard got injured. I'm not sure Anthony Richardson's ever playing again for the Colts. Desmond Ridder? Phillip Rivers, actually? That's crazy. At some point, there could be a bye on Indianapolis. This might be a bye now, right? They closed as 12.5 against Max Brosmer. But listen, the Seahawks know how to run teams up a flagpole. That may be what that game looks like. Speaking of the NFL, we did our NFL tiers tonight. We'll talk about these more throughout the week. Just want to remind people how we positioned it all here on these Tuesday nights. Tier 1, Honda Accord, safest pick on the market. Packers, Rams, Broncos, Pats. These are the right now cleanest cases you can make for a Super Bowl pick. I'm just not sure that's the case I'm going to make, especially with the Niners and the Texans. Sell me something. Those futures have been looking at me. I have Niners in the NFC. Houston ones can get added at some point. I've been working through some tiebreakers between them and Jacksonville. If those teams finish with the same record, the Texans are going to end up winning out on the tiebreak due to conference record. So there is some interest in that one. Bills, Seahawks, I'll be the bad guy. They're not winning the Super Bowl. Call me crazy. People love these teams, whether it be because of the quarterback or everything other than the quarterback. But the problem is sometimes you need those things to sing. And Buffalo's issues on things outside the quarterback are real, and Seattle's issues at the quarterback position are real. Frisky five teams that can make, if they make the postseason, could win a game. Dallas, Chargers, Bears, Lions, Jaguars. There's some juice behind these teams if they can get into the dance. But especially from the NFC side of it, you may only get one of those teams to make the postseason. Misery loves company. Who's having a good time here? Eagles, Bengals, Chiefs, Bucks, Ravens, Colts. You could say it's an honor to put Cincinnati with these teams. I disagree. I'd listen to an argument Cincinnati's the best team on that graphic. Black Ops or Bama, Kyler, Ty Simpson. keep your Alabama-rooted quarterback. I don't feel bad about the Steelers being in Tier 6. The Mendoza line, we end it with a beauty. Fernando Mendoza contenders, teams that are going to win maybe less than 20% of their games. Best bets tonight, Alex Condon over the 13.5 points. Rooted in people. In-game live is next.